faith has no value by itself. Only the object, which is God, has value. The Bible never says to have faith in faith, yet this is the experience of many. Too often a great difficulty or problem arises, and the believer feels he has to arouse his faith. He feels that if he can't just stir up enough faith, he will whip the problem. But in reality, he has had faith in faith. His mind, his attention, and his heart has been focused upon faith, not on God. A man's faith is not going to remove the mountain. God is going to remove the mountain. Practically everyone who came to Jesus at one point in time had weak faith. Only a few had strong faith. Yet God saved them and granted their request. Let's take a look at Matthew chapter 14. Matthew chapter 14, verse 31. There you go. All right. It says that immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him and said to him, O thou of little faith, wherefore dost thou doubt? Now we know this was talking about Peter, but I'll get to that in a second. Here.
So right here on the 29th for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. Now, remember what we're going to talk about. We're going to be talking about Peter here in a minute. Now, the more one knows about the object of faith, the more one believes in the object. Now, I found this illustration. I thought this was a very good illustration. Consider two men who want to go out on a frozen lake to fish. One man is told to go ahead and cross the lake. He is assured by his friend that the ice will hold him up. Yet when he begins to step out in the ice, he cautiously and tremblingly takes step after step, usually until he can stand it no more and returns. But the other man walks out courageously and boldly, cuts a hole in the ice, and sits down and begins to fish. Now, note three different things here. What's important, the man sitting out on the lake, out on the ice? Not his faith, but the ice, the object of his faith. Who had the strongest faith? Of course, the man out on the ice. The one with weak faith is the man who slowly inched his way back. What made the difference between the faith of the two? One thing. One man knew the ice, and the other man did not know the ice. So, now, the second fact here is that faith is its purpose. The Jews clearly understood what Jesus meant, referring back to our verses in Mark. You know, it says that meant by removing mountains. The phrase was Jewish meaning to remove difficulties. Jesus' teaching says, have faith in God, and then say unto this mountain, be thou removed. Mountains represent the immovable, the impossible. It is something almost too steep to climb, almost too high to cross, almost too awesome to see beyond. Now, this is the reason Jesus discussed prayer and action along with faith. One learns to have faith in God as he prays and communes with God. The more he prays and communes with God, the more he will know God. The experience and removal of mountains that slow his progress through life. A third fact, a way to possess faith, the way is prayer. Jesus said, does not doubt in your heart, but believe that whatever he says will happen, it will be done for him. There are two crucial points here at this point. First of all, no doubting at all. This means never having thought whether a thing can be done or not. Realistically, only God himself can know if a thing will happen or not. All right? But what Christ is after is what we grow in belief and trust. He wants us to believe that all things are possible through Christ who strengthens us. We need to believe in God's authority. If we don't believe in God's authority, then we've lost our walk. We have to believe God for who he is, what he is, and what he will do. We need to wholeheartedly believe in God's faith. And we need to realize that God has got the authority. Now, so we need to believe in God's authority or God's power. The power of Christ came from the authority of God. All he had to do was say, that is, speak the word, and it was done. That is the very point he is making to us right here. If we believe, doubting not, then we stand in the same authority, in the same power of God. The fourth fact is the result of faith. A man who prays having faith, truly having faith in God, it will be done for him. The mountains which confront him will be removed effectively and quickly. Matthew 21:22 says, if you believe, you will receive whatever you ask in prayer. The second thing is, let's jump back to Mark 11, verse 24. All right, says, therefore I say to you, what things soever ye desire when you pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. If you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer. If you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer. All right. Now, one of the other things is expectancy. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it shall be yours. Now, a person must believe and expect an answer to his prayer. When I pray, I expect to hear praise reports on prayers that I have lifted up to God. Now, does he answer every prayer every day? No, he does not answer every prayer every day. Sometimes it takes a process, and sometimes he does answer immediately. But we must be confident and assured, we must anticipate and look for the answer that God is giving to us in that prayer. Expectancy involves all of man's being. It involves emotions he desires. It involves a will he asks. It involves a man's spirit he believes. Now, in James 1:6, but when he asks, he must believe and not doubt, because he who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. Now, we were talking a little bit about Peter coming to Jesus on the water. And what happened? As long as Peter kept his eyes on Jesus, he stayed afloat. But then he started seeing the waves kicking at his heels and kicking at his feet, and he was doing different things. And what happened? He started to sink. And Jesus grabbed him back up and said, "O ye of little faith." Because Jesus was there. Jesus was not going to let Peter drown. But in James chapter 1, verse 6, but when he asked, he must believe and not doubt, because he who doubts is like a wave of the sea blown and tossed by the wind. In the Bible times, the sea is considered the dwelling place of evil spirits. We see this illustration when Jesus cast the evil spirits into the pigs as they run down into the sea. Now, we've got to remember that God has given us authority. God has given us power. He has given us authority. He has given us power over illnesses. He has given us power over marriages. He has given us power over households. He has given us the authority. In other words, once again, the two words are interchangeable: authority and power. Power and authority. So they're interchangeable. All right. Jesus said in Matthew 28, verses 18 to 19, all authority is given unto me, which is meaning all power is given unto me. We still today can do greater works than what he did, because God has given us the authority. God has given us the power to go out and reach the lost for Jesus Christ. God has given us the power to lay hands on the sick and they will recover. God has given us power to seek the lost. In Matthew 28, verses 18 and 19, we know that all authority is given to me, Luke 10, 19, and I give you authority, the authority over the enemy, over all the power of the enemy. I give you authority. Our authority is basically over Satan and his evil forces. Satan is defeated. He is under Jesus' feet while we are at Jesus' side. All right? Ephesians 6:12. This is going to be my last verse. Ephesians 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Now, why, if we have power over Satan, do we struggle with him? Now, as I was doing this study and putting this together, I